Well, one need not be gullible or weak to acknowledge when previously frustrating reporters engage in the surprising but gratifying act of actually presenting facts and questioning propagandists. And that was actually the case over the weekend as CNN's Jake Tapper and Fox News' Chris Wallace pressed leftist fiction pushers trying to sell the false notion that by nominating Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court of the U.S., the SCOTUS, President Trump was breaching the Constitution or, yeah, you got it, packing the courts. Hi, everyone. I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. It's time to get into it. Sunday on CNN's State of the Onion, Tapper pressed Joe Biden's deputy campaign manager. I know, shocking. Her name is Kate Bedingfield, and she came on to back up Joe Biden's claims Saturday that Trump's work with allies in the GOP-dominated Senate was somehow unconstitutional.
He said it's not constitutional what they're doing. How is it not constitutional what they're doing?
His point is that the people have an opportunity to weigh in on this constitutional process through their vote. And we are now in the midst of the election. Millions of people have already cast their votes.
Which is incredibly insulting and an attempt to overlook the fact that millions of people already voted many years ago. And so under the rules of the Constitution, which is supposed to be the rule book for this giant leviathan of a country, Trump is supposed to nominate someone to fill the vacant SCOTUS seat. But Bedingfield went on.
And you see that the vast majority of people say that they want the person who wins the election on November 3rd to nominate the justice.
To which Tapper responded with,
"That's a poll. That's
seat.
not the Constitution."
Good for him. Which was pretty good of him to note. It's particularly laudatory because Mr. Tapper's wife, Jennifer Marie Brown, once did a great deal of work as a field manager for Planned Parenthood of Washington, D.C. Thus, it's a nice surprise to have seen that Mr. Tapper didn't reveal any particular bias in favor of his wife's former employer, despite the fact that Amy Coney Barrett could be a deciding opinion to overturn the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that overrode states' abortion laws. Now, when it comes to Chris Wallace, he does deserve some pointed criticism because, for example, early in his exchange with Democrat Delaware Senator Chris Coons, who is on the Senate Judiciary Committee and undoubtedly will be oh so fair to Barrett and the Constitution as the nomination process unravels this week, Wallace said this to start things off.
Based on her writings and even some of her votes as a judge in the Seventh Circuit, do you have any doubt that a Justice Barrett would vote to overturn Obamacare and would vote to either overturn or restrict a woman's right to abortion?
Okay, we can dispense with the Obamacare part right away by saying there's absolutely no provision in the U.S. Constitution allowing the federal government to mandate health insurance purchases, to mandate that health insurance companies offer what politicians want them to offer, or allowing the feds to hand out their own health insurance or subsidize other people's insurance, period. Zero. But the key error Wallace makes is to say that there is a right to an abortion. No one has a right either to kill another human being, and at conception, a fetus is human with its own distinct DNA, and it is being in the process of life that we all enjoy. Or to ask someone else to kill that life, or even to get money forcibly taken from others to pay for the murder through some sort of government subsidy to Planned Parenthood. Humans have rights only to life and property retention, and from aggressive violence, theft, and attacks on their lives by other people. Mr. Wallace, he can skip hosting another debate and perhaps brush up on those fundamental axioms sometime. But that said, Chris Wallace did score on one small point. After Coons offered the incredibly insulting statement,
"This is hard for your average American to follow, I think,"
implying we're just too super chunk thick to grasp how the Constitution lays out the workings for what has morphed into this monstrous government. And of course, Coons went on talking about how terrible it would be if Obamacare actually got a critical look on a constitutional level. Wallace focused on Joe Biden's recent insinuation that he would pack the courts and his subsequent claim that people would have to vote for him before they could find out what he would do to the Supreme Court. Wallace wanted Coons, who's a close confidant of Biden, to answer a simple question. And Coons would not answer, dodging into things like COVID-19 instead. Said Wallace?
No, Senator, with all due respect, you're not being straight with me and you're not answering my question. We have 23 days left until the election. Can Vice President Biden, can Senator Harris, as running mate, can they continue to stonewall on a perfectly legitimate question? Biden says it's legitimate. If you're elected, will you try to change one of the three branches of government by adding justices to the court? There haven't been any more than 9 justices, I think it's since the 1870s. It's a pretty important question. Can he hold out and stonewall on that issue for 3 weeks?
Well asked. And of course, Coons gave yet another non-responsive answer, focusing instead on previous activity when the Republicans tried to delay the hearing for Judge Merrick Garland to the federal appellate court in 2016. But Wallace would have none of it and came back with
Are some members
but that's a
of the
different.
majority.
Let me just say, and I just got to say, that's a different issue than packing the court.
spot on. And one can't often say that about Mr. Wallace or many folks in the high-profile positions of network newscasts. But it's important to give credit where it's due, and both Mr. Wallace and Mr. Tapper handled their respective exchanges with leftist propagandists very, very well. One can only hope that they'll do that more often, because there are a lot of propagandists out there, and they prefer easy riders as they barrel towards us on their machinery of theft and tyranny. So we will have to keep tabs on all these media figures, and once in a while give them a big thumbs up when they actually hold these people's feet to the fire. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Remember, like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. As I've mentioned in a few other videos, sometimes people get dropped, so I just want to remind you about that. Head over to MRCTV.org. It's the big central locus where you find everything. It's awesome. And if you get the opportunity, head into Facebook. We'll see you there. We'll see you on Instagram. And if you want some really good Media Research Center items, go to MRC-Store. It supports the Media Research Center, and it gives you some great gifts to give to friends as well, or to keep for yourself. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.